About Shamima Begum now. There's a problem. She's been held in this detention centre in the fly-blown desert in Syria. Syria is falling apart at the seams. Its ability to retain the inmates in these detention centres is crumbling, is disintegrating. To wit, Britain has already repatriated several, they think at least a dozen jihadi ISIS brides, British brides, have come back quietly. Quite why we allowed that to happen, I don't know. The point is, Shamima Begum may soon be able to, if she hasn't already, just be able to walk out into the desert. Then what does she do? My guess, she starts to make her way back to Britain. So like it or not, we may soon have to address the crisis surrounding this ISIS bride terrorist friend. Let's talk to social policy analyst Dr. Rakib Ehsan. Welcome, Rakib.
Hi Kevin, how are you?
I'm good. Now, Shamima Begum, I've always taken the view that we were quite right to take away her British citizenship. She's a traitor. She signed up to that murderous caliphate, that death cult. ISIS took part in murderous activities, in bombings, and lived among those people, married a ISIS warrior, had 4 kids, they all died. My view is we were right to strip her of her British citizenship, and as far as I was concerned, and a lot of other Brits, I think, she could rot in the desert. The problem is, those desert detention centres are falling apart at the seams, and it may be possible that she can just walk out and she's going to make her way back here. We've got a problem here, haven't we?
No, we've certainly got a problem, Kevin. Now, I completely sympathise with those who believe that it was right to revoke her citizenship, her British citizenship, but I always said that that was a bit of a short-term fix. I think what we need to look at here is our own terror-related laws. I think that one of the main reasons why our public authorities are reluctant to allow the likes of Shamima Begum to return to the UK is that I don't think they're very confident that they would be able to prosecute her. Now, if you look at the prosecution rate for ISIS returnees who return to the UK, it's terribly low, Kevin, and that's because it's very difficult for our public authorities to collect the evidence from conflict-affected territories, the kind of evidence which is needed to facilitate prosecution. Now, as you say, these detention camps in Syria, which have been controlled by the Syrian Democratic Forces, they're now falling apart. They're crumbling. Syria itself is under tremendous internal strain. So I think that we really have to think about how do we personally as the UK manage this situation. But the reality is, Kevin, is that there's hundreds of ISIS returnees who have returned to the UK over the years. So this naturally does pose a security problem. But I think I would make this point with the citizenship stripping, that at the time we had the Home Secretary, I believe it was Sajid Javid, was trying to foist Shamima Begum onto Bangladesh. I don't think that was particularly wise either. Shamima Begum's never set foot in Bangladesh. Her connections there are tenuous at best. She just has Bangladeshi heritage. So I think we need to think about a way of how do we actually manage this kind of situation. I think for me, one suggestion is that we could introduce a very strong terror-related law, which says that if you are found guilty of membership of a proscribed terrorist organization, that in itself carries a hefty prison sentence, and that could be applied retrospectively, even to people who may have joined those organizations. I believe Shamima Begum was 15 years of age when she went out to Syria to join ISIS. I'd make the point that she was actually well above the age of criminal responsibility in England and Wales. Yes, 10 years of age.
That's a good point.
So I think that we need to look at our terror laws. How well are they working, and do we need to make adjustments and significant reforms?
Yeah, I mean, the Bleeding Heart Brigade, led by the excellent Lord Alf Dubs, are saying, oh, she was clearly trafficked and therefore, we need to show her sympathy. As you say, she was 15 years old. She clearly wasn't trafficked. We got all the footage of her. And
there's a degree of individual agency involved, surely.
Yeah, exactly right. We got the footage of the 3 of them making, her and her 2 friends making their way out to the caliphate, so I don't buy that she was trafficked. However, and also I think it would be best for this country if she remained exactly where she is. She's a terrorist, and she is a threat to our national security, and if she ever does get back here, it's going to cost us at least £1 million a year for our security services to monitor her. So all in all, she should stay in Syria, but Syria is becoming very leaky, to say the least, and the chances are, as I said earlier, that she'll soon be able to walk out into the desert, and what's she going to do? She's going to make her way back here. So we're going to have to confront the reality. And what is weird, as you say, Rakib, is over the years we have let in arguably maybe hundreds of ISIS warriors, guys who went out there to fight with that death cult, British people. We've just let them kind of filter back into the country. We learned only last week that at least 12 ISIS brides have been allowed back in, no questions asked. When Shamima Begum knocks on our door, this is going to bring this issue to the forefront of the national narrative, isn't it?
Well, I think this is the point that you're saying that these detention camps in Syria, they seem to be bursting at the seams. That they're crumbling. So I think that the British authorities have to think, how do we keep control, or how do we get a grip of the situation? Now, some people might argue that maybe that they should organise the repatriation of Shamima Begum. Now, of course, the problem there is, once again, to what extent do they actually have evidence in terms of our existing terror laws, how they work? Would they be able to facilitate any kind of meaningful prosecution? I'm not entirely sure. But I think that we have to also think about, when it comes to the female members of ISIS, some of them played an integral part in the so-called morality police, which enforced the sort of moral codes on behalf of ISIS in the territories that they controlled. So I think that we have to bear that in mind in terms of the security risks involved in terms of female members of ISIS who joined, which is ultimately a barbaric, genocidal, terrorist organization. So I think that there's a lot for us to think about here in terms of how do the British public authorities actually manage this situation, and should they actually play an active role in repatriating Shamima Begum? But if they do so, will they be able to facilitate any kind of meaningful prosecution? Because they were not able to do so. I think there'd be many British citizens who would be very frustrated, if not very angry about it.
Yeah, it's a conundrum. I mean, she's a threat to this country. She's a terrorist. She's an enemy of this nation. And she's well known, as you said, the moral police that these ISIS brides tend to sort of operate under. She's well known to be a leading light, even in this detention camp over in Syria. She's one of the leaders of the moral police there, and you know, she walks around apparently usually in her burqa, but whenever the cameras are there, she puts on her Western gear and her baseball cap.
There's a Union flag pillow in the background.
That's right, that's right. She's an artful little thing, but she's worse than that. She's a danger to this nation. But I do feel fairly soon we are going to have to confront this, because she's going to come knocking on our doors. Rakib, good to talk to you as always.